Blood dripped onto the ice floor as his own trembling hands cut deep into his stomach. Alone, trapped beneath miles of Antarctic night, a man sliced open his body, searching for the organ that was killing him. Each movement was agony. Each mistake could spill his life onto the table, but stopping meant certain death. His name was Leonid Rogozov, a Soviet surgeon stranded at the edge of the world. The year was 1961. He was the only doctor at a remote Antarctic station when a stabbing pain tore through his side. Appendicitis. Left untreated, it would burst and poison his blood. No evacuation was possible. There was only one option left: to cut himself open before the infection did. Antarctica was no place for weakness. Endless blizzards, frozen horizons, and silence so total it gnawed at the mind. The Soviets had built Novolazarevska station in a desperate bid to claim the last frontier. Men worked to exhaustion, isolated from the world, bound by duty and fear of failure. And in this bleak fortress of ice, their only doctor suddenly became the patient. The others had no training, no way to save him. He knew what must be done. He would have to take the knife to his own flesh. It wasn't a crime, but a grim trial of survival. His body betrayed him, stabbing him with fevers, cold sweats, and waves of nausea. He tested every option: antibiotics, bed rest, but the pain grew sharper, relentless. Each hour brought him closer to rupture, and with it, a slow, tortuous death by sepsis. He wrote in his diary that he felt doomed if he did nothing, but the thought of cutting into himself chilled him more than the polar winds outside. Still, there was no choice. He sharpened his instruments. He prepared his assistants, and then he began. The room was sterile, yet the act was madness. He injected his abdomen with Novocaine, but the numbing was shallow. The first incision tore fire through his body. His assistants, engineers and meteorologists with no medical skill, stood pale and trembling, holding a mirror so he could see what he was doing. Blood welled up, slicking his gloves, clouding the mirror. He muttered instructions, voice shaking, breath shallow. With each cut, the pain sharpened. He nearly lost consciousness, and more than once, he had to stop, rest his head on the edge of the table, and wait for the world to stop spinning. And then came the horror. He reached the appendix. Swollen near to bursting, it glistened beneath the trembling light. One slip, and it would rupture in his hands. His assistants wept silently as he leaned forward, slicing through the tissue that tethered it to life. But that was not the end. He had to stitch the wound shut, his own shaking hands threading the needle, pulling skin together as he grew weaker. Every movement threatened to spill his guts. Every pause threatened to end in collapse. Somehow, impossibly, he finished. Hours passed before the final stitch tied his flesh together. His assistants helped him from the table, pale as corpses, shocked by what they had witnessed. Rogozov collapsed into fevered sleep, hovering between life and death. Yet within days, his temperature dropped, his pain faded, and the infection passed. Against all odds, he survived. His comrades saw not just a doctor, but a man who conquered his own body with sheer will. The world would later hear his story and call it heroic, even miraculous. But stripped of legend, what remains is something darker. A man cornered by fate, slicing into his own flesh while the ice held outside. It is a reminder of the terrible strength buried inside human beings, drawn out only when death claws so close we taste its breath. Would you, in his place, have found the courage to carve into your own body for a chance at one more sunrise? Thank you for watching. What does this story stir in you? Admiration, horror, or both? Share your thoughts below. And if you thought this was harrowing, wait until you hear of the men who faced as executioners as they tore his body open piece by piece.